Hey everyone, my name is Koushik and welcome back to LetCode. In this video, we are going to learn about frames. As usual, we have frame.spec.js where I have written the import statement and also I have created a describe block and also I have a before all statement where we are going to launch the URL of the page. And we have this conf.js where we are using this recurse statement to make sure that our import statement is working fine. And also we have disabled the Selenium promise manager so that we can use the async and await without any problem. According to HTML, it is just a tag that is frame or iframe. Now frame is a older technique which is used almost in HTML4 I can say, and from HTML5 we are using iframe. Just a version, nothing much difference in terms of HTML implementation I can say, but of course there will be some advantage and maybe some disadvantage as well. Why we have to use frames in terms of implementation, I can say it is just used to segregate the pages or the documents within any document. For example, let's say that I have a form which is coming from my external sources and I want to integrate that within my web page. Instead of giving the full access to the particular third party provider or maybe some other resources, I can just give a particular location where they can implement their code easily. For example, if you take any websites like um, IRCTC or any government official websites, probably they do not want their website to give access to some other third parties because of course it has some sensitive data. In terms of that, they can just give some placeholder where they can insert iframe, and based on the iframe, third party websites or the advertisement agents can pop their advertise over there. Now other than that, we have also other benefits like if you want to maintain separate style for one document and separate style for another document within the same page, then also I can go with the frames. These are just in terms of web implementation I can say, but as a testers what we need to know is if there is multiple document within the same page or within the same window, then we have to know how to switch to that. Let me give you an example here. So in our LetCode page, we have this frame section where we have this very two simple text box, which is for username and another one is for password. Now let us try to inspect this. So if I go to this and inspect, and here I can see it has a value called username as an ID, right? So of course I can take this, let me copy, and here I'm going to write the code for that. So here I can say element by.id, and then I can give the value. And now I'm going to use send case, and here maybe I can pass admin as the username. And of course we have to use this await and async. And let me try to run this. So Ctrl J to bring up my terminal. And of course as usual we have to navigate to the folder. And here I'm going to call my Protractor conf.js, right? Okay, so the browser has been launched and closed very quickly. The reason is we got some exception. Let us see what is that. So here it says that unable to start a WebDriver session. Session not created is the exception name, and it is coming because the version of Chrome driver I am using currently is 81. But whereas the browser which I have is, I believe it should be above 81. Yeah, so I have 83 version, right? So that means whenever we are going to run our script, we should also take care of this WebDriver instance where it should be exactly matched based on the major version, not the minor and small bug changes version. So if it's going to be 81 here, the browser should be 81, and if there is going to be 83, and the driver should also be 83. Now to update in Protractor, it is very easy. Just we have to use the command called webdriver-manager and then space and update. Now here we can see that has been updated to 83. Now let me clear up my console, and here I'm going to run the same command again. We are able to launch the browser now. We got some exception. Let's see what happened. So here it says that no element found. That is, we got no such element exception. And it says that using the ID username, we are not able to find any element. So we got no such element error, right? Uh, we know that our ID value is correct and the code is also correct, but still we are getting no such element error. The reason is it is inside a frame. Now, by default, Selenium or the Protractor or any Selenium based API, I can say it is going to focus on the main page first. And if there is any nested page, then we have to do the switch to the particular page. For example, let's say that I have this main page and here I'm going to navigate to my inner document, that is of frame 1. So Selenium or the Protractor cannot directly do the switch. We have to write a syntax to do the switch of focusing from one document to the another document. Now, just in case if I want to go to the main page, from the main page to the frame 1 page that is inside another document, then we have to do the switch. Now let's say that within the frame 1 I have another frame, so another document. Then of course I cannot go directly from main page to the frame 2. I have to switch to the frame 1, then from the frame 1 again I have to switch to the frame 2. So that is how it's worked by default. So let me show you in the DOM as well. Every HTML page is constructed within this HTML tag. But if I going to inspect this and if I go little up, here we can see that here we have another HTML that is like document within another document. So if I go up here, we can see that it has a iframe tag and it has some attributes, right? So basically we have to do the switching part. Now to identify a frame, it is going to be very easy. Just use the Control F and here you can search for iframe and that is going to give you the number of frames available within the page. So either you have to search with the frame tag or the iframe tag. Now both are just the frame names, frame tag names, but the implementation of code is going to be very same. Now we have a method called switchTo through which we are going to do the switching part here. So of course before typing the name, we have to switch our focus from the parent document to the sub document or the internal document, right? So here I'm going to say browser dot switchTo. Now switchTo is coming from a class called target locator. So if I go within this target locator, here you can see this is going to be of class and it has few methods like active element, default content, and then we have this frame, window, and alert. In our previous video, we have learned what is alert. In this video, we are going to learn about frame and the default content. So here I have to say frame and then I have to give the value of the frame. Now we can pass this in three ways. Either we can give the ID of the frame or the index of the frame, or else we can pass it as a web element. Now I'm going to use the index first and it is going to be start from 0 as always, because we know that index always starts from 0 in programming, right? And here we have only one iframe. That means of course it is going to be of 0, right? So let me run this. Before that we have to use the await keyword, and if I go to my terminal and let me clear and run this again. Okay, so actually typed, but it was very fast. So, but we didn't get any exception. So obviously we know that the test case has been passed, but still I'm just going to add after each block. And let me run again. So we got the value as admin, and after the 3 seconds, the browser is going to be closed. That's perfect, right? So this is one way of doing switching into frame. So let us see another way. So I'm just going to copy and paste, and here I'm going to make this as X, so it is not going to be executed. And here instead of index, I'm going to pass the ID of this particular frame. So if I go and inspect, here we can see that iframe which has ID of my frame. So let me copy this and paste over here within the double quotes as string. Please remember, you have to just copy and paste. Please remember, here you have to give only the id value within string as a string, not like element dot find element by id or something like that. That is going to be of different. That is, we have to pass the web element. But here within the frame, we have to directly pass this name or index, right? So I'm taking this id. So let us see what happens. Okay, so the value has been passed successfully and we are able to see that, right? And also it says that one it block has been skipped because of course we have used this x over here, right? So that's pretty much cool, I believe. And let's see another type. So here I'm going to say, let me copy and paste it again. So let's assume that we do not have this id, then of course I can use the name as well. So let me copy and paste over here. Let us check that as well. So I'm just going to run this again. Right? So either we can go with the ID or the name or the index. So whatever we are going to pass, it is going to work for sure. That's not a problem. But let's assume that in our page, we do not have ID or the name. So of course we cannot use that. Then the second option is going to be index. But if you have multiple iframes or frames, index using that is not recommended. So of course we have to go with the web element concept, right? So we are going to find this element first. So if I'm going to write this as an X path, maybe I can use this SRC. So let me copy this, and here I'm going to say, maybe I can use double slash iframe, and here I can give at SRC equal to, then followed by this login, right? So perfect, we got one of one. So let me copy this, and here I'm going to say element, and then followed by dot xpath, and within this I have to give my xpath value, and I'm going to store this. So let me use the await, and here I can store that in let, maybe I can say frame element, and here I have to pass this frame element. Now let me try to run this again. Okay, so here you can see we are getting so much of console log because this is basically going to give us some exception. Let me stop this. So this is going to be infinite in nature, so I'm going to stop this. And the reason here is, when we are going to use like this, when we are going to use this frame element as a web element, then in that case we have to use the method called dot get web element. Now let me try to run this. Hopefully this time it should execute. So here we can see that the value has been typed successfully this time and our execution was successful, right? So the learning here is, whenever we are going to use the web element as an argument, we have to use the method called get web element. So this is the common mistakes which most of the time happens. So be cautious when we are going to use this argument as a web element. Now this is pretty much fine. We understand that how to switch into frame using different techniques, but also we have to understand how to get back from the frame. So here we have a method called get default content, which is used to get out of all the inner frames. For example, let's say that my focus is in the frame 2. Then if I want to go to this main page, then I have to use the function called default content. Similarly, if I'm in frame 1 and if I want to go to the main page, then I have to use the function called default content. Now in Selenium API, we have this parent frame, which is mostly used to use like if I'm in frame 2 and if I want to move to the frame 1, then I can go with the parent frame. But unfortunately in Protractor, it is missing, or I'm not sure, but it has not been implemented. So there is no way that we can go to the parent frame. So of course we have to switch to the main page first, then we have to move further. So that is how it works. I hope that makes sense to you. Now let us see how to use the default content here. So here I'm going to say it so await browser dot switch to, then followed by default content, right? Now please remember, if we are within the frame, then we have to use the default content, or else there is no use of using default content. By default, it is going to focus on the main page. For example, let's say that once we type on this value, then we want to print this text here. So I'm just going to inspect this first one, and here we can say that it is inside some class body, and then we have some h1 tag, right? So I think h1 tag is going to be unique here. So if I try to give this, so of course it is unique, so I can use this directly as h1. So here I'm just going to comment this default content as of now. Here I'm going to say element, and then by dot tag name, and here I have to pass this as h1, and it is going to give us promises. So of course await, and then I can store that in a web element. So here let maybe header, and then of course I have to give the async here, and here just I'm going to log this. So log header dot get text. So I can directly use this here. So get text, and here I can just log the header value here, right? So of course I have to give this value to this. So that's it, fine. Let me try to execute this. So the value has been typed, and it is waiting for my browser.sleep, that is 3 seconds, and after that it is going to search for the h1 tag. But here we can see that no element formed, but we know that the element is there. The reason is we are currently focused within this tag, that is within this frame tag, I can say. So once we are within this frame 1, we cannot interact with any of the elements that is outside of this particular frame. So of course we have to again switch back to our main page. So for that we are going to use this function called default content. So I'm just going to bring this up here, and if I'm going to run this now, this is going to pass for sure. So the value has been typed, and it is waiting for my browser.sleeps, and also we can see we got our output here as frames, right? So that is expected. So I think this is pretty much cool for this frame topic. It is going to be very simple. So let me give you a quick recap. A document within another document is designed within the frame tag. Frame can be either iframe or frame. That doesn't matter in terms of our coding. Just we have to follow the same syntax. To switch within a frame, we have to use the name or the ID attribute, or else we can go with the index, or else we can go with the web element. But please remember, whenever we are going to use this web element, we have to also use the function called get web element, or else it is going to give us exception. Basically, the get web element means that it is going to resolve the promises for us, then it is going to interact with that particular element. And to come from all the frames, doesn't matter how many nested you are, if you want to go to your main page, then you can use the function called default content. Now please remember, whenever we are going to do the switch, we have to make sure that we are going to give the correct path of the frame. That is, either it can be id, name, or index. For example, let me disable all this test, and here I'm going to pass this index as maybe 1. So of course we know that we have only one frame, and if I'm going to run this now, here it is going to give me some exception saying that no such frame except. So as expected, we got some exception. Let's see. So it says that no such frame, and the exception name is no such frame error. So that is what going to happen if you give the index or the ID or the name or the web element as wrong value. So I think this is pretty much enough. Thanks for watching. If you like the video, please do like and share to your friends, and also do not forget to subscribe to the channel. See you in the next one. Bye bye. Take care.